I've been feeling my age recently because I've certainly been getting, well, softer like a banana.
ヤッツィの引用の素晴らしい試みですね。そろそろ要点を述べてください。
Basically, what I'm saying is that I feel like I've been more forgiving than usual.
あなたの主張は何ですか？
Okay, let me use an example from a manga. You know that scene from Moonlight Journey where they explain how Mio has a higher tolerance for bad food compared to a normal person? Well, that's me with manga at this point.
つまり、あなたも、ミオと同じくらい愚かだということですね。
God, you're awfully mean for Orient Standing, but yeah, basically, I've been enjoying more manga than I normally would. It feels weird. Well, it feels weird seeing me in my old blog called the Isekai genre a plague, where now I read way too much isekais because I find the genre to be quite flavorful. In fact, I think I'll be reviewing isekais for a bit, since the recent changes to Megadex has made me fled to another website and led me to running into my comfort rut of isekais and old reads from my school days. Basically, I'm in no position to be criticizing anything, so I just want to talk about things I like for at least a couple months. So let's just talk about a harem isekai manga that I actually quite like a lot. Isekai Miki the Harem O, and I, as per usual, definitely butchered that pronunciation, is a lot better than I expected from a typical Guno Isekai manga, especially one that has real nudity in it. So, this video isn't for you, kiddies. What about you guys go and watch one of my other videos that's more for your age, like Tokyo Red Horse? I can't say that seriously. oh, it's who cares? The plot is basically your typical isekai stuff. Man gets transported to a fantasy setting, and while getting to grips with this new world, he finds the motivation to build a harem with slaves. Very standard for this type of isekai, so what makes me like it so much? Well, it's about how it's paced, because it really takes its time, unlike isekais that declare themselves to be slow living. I think an excellent example of its slow pace is by just taking this color page we got right here, that they use at the start of the series. Roxanne, who's the dog person here on the left, she isn't introduced until the end of chapter 3, and she isn't even born until chapter 9. The dwarf girl on the right, though, she's teased again in chapter 28, but isn't formally introduced until chapter 39. That's right, they wait until chapter 39 to introduce the second member of the harem. What's even more interesting is that we're now 96 chapters into the series at time of me recording this. We're probably at 97 by the time I get this out, and they still haven't introduced a third harem member. The story would rather focus on developing the relationships of Kaga, who is our main protagonist, and his slaves, rather than shove waifus down your throat until you get sick of it. 6 chapters between Roxanne's introduction and her being acquired, we use that time to introduce the Labyrinth, which is our main location of sorts, I guess, and shows the lengths Kaga's will have to go to survive and what he will do for Roxanne. Then between that and Sherry's introduction, who is the dwarf, we focus on Kaga's relationship with Roxanne as he finds out more about the world's class system. Well, not like social class, like actual class, you get what I mean, and slowly improves the quality of his life. They don't add Sherry into the mix until Roxanne is quite clearly comfortable in her new role as Kaga's slave, and because adding Sherry would be there to show her a new side of Roxanne. I'm butchering my own words. Pretty much what I'm saying is that the writer is more interested in selling you a story rather than a self-insert fantasy. And I think a really good example of this is the MC's power level. What's really interesting is that they keep Kaga's power level quite low. Sure, he gets the title of hero very on, even has a special sword, but realistically, he performs very averagely in the battle parts of the manga, and it's not like his slaves are carrying him either. While Roxanne and Sherry are very capable fighters, they're not exactly exceptional. I like that even stuff like the special sword and the title of hero aren't really that pivotal to the story, nor are they what makes him special. Rather, I like that the role of hero is more, well, background noise, where he's only using it for the slight stat bonus. And maybe the role isn't that special, going by this discussion with Sherry. What makes Kaga special is the appraisal skill he has, and how he uses it to gain slight advantages, like swapping classes as he needs it, and learning how the class system works by experimenting with different unlock conditions for different classes. Even his sword isn't that interesting, where he basically just uses it to interact monster spells and replenishing his mana when he swaps to spellcasting later on. It's not even like the combat is the main focus, because, like I said, it's more interested in the relationships forged between our characters than anything else in the manga. The Labyrinth grind is more just an excuse to explore the systems of the world and fund the actual interesting stuff back on the surface. I have more fun when it shows Kaga interacting with the girls or hustling for money, because those are excuses to either explore more of the setting or give us interesting storytelling, and that is not a euphemism. I don't know why I had to specify that is not a euphemism. What the fuck was I thinking? You can judge me on this, but as a writer, I find reading hentai doujins and playing porn games to be quite fun, and it's not even because I'm a gooner. Rather, I am more interested in how does the element of sex influences the story, because how it's interesting to see how different creators will justify putting in the dirty act if they bother justifying it at all. This is why I am a big fan of Buddha, because he's like a really good romance writer, where the romance just ends up sidelining the actual porn that makes up most of his doujin works. In fact, I would say Buddha's romances are enhanced by the porn, because sex is just an expression of love when it comes to relationships, and people do develop long term and meaningful relationships through it. Basically, I like it when sex is a tool in the writer's belt to improve the story rather than help to get the reader off. And this title does it quite well. It starts off as Kaga's motivation to buy a slave, even pushing himself to take risks he normally wouldn't, just so he can own and sex Roxanne. Eventually, it becomes a way of expressing their love for each other as they spend more time together. It evolves from I want to get my Vox off to the reason why he ends up buying a house, caring more about Roxanne's well being and treatment. In return, Roxanne learns to love her master. She also like that when Sherry is added to the mix, it's not sex that's what wins Sherry over, but rather the treatment and the other things Kaga does for her. So the sex ends up being more of a way for her to return the favor than anything else. I also like that the sex gives him a new class that gets into its own little mini arc. He's trying to suppress his gooning just to try out a skill that comes with it. Is it the best application I've seen of sex as a storytelling device? No, I think Tokyo Red Hood is slightly better in this, but that's more because it bleeds the sexual elements into its story, of its story into its theming and horror, where here it's more just blatant and frankly still a little fan servicey. Still, I think the sex scenes are just the cherry on the top for a very neat isekai that actually does fit the slow living genre. That is basically everything I want to say about this, so if you want to leave, you can. I'm just going to do some off-script rambling now because I'm be recording this because I wasn't happy. Well, obviously I was not happy with this whole video, audio-wise at least. I am just feeling so totally unfocused because I'm like trying to force myself to get back into the habit of editing. That's why it took me 2 days to edit this when I should have realistically had it done in 8. But no, it's out now, and I've also have made some stuff. So let's start with the big one. There should be art night videos coming out over the course of the next couple of weeks. I've got the first three, four. Wait, I don't know. It's 3. first 3 up, and they should be the first episode should be out next tomorrow, and then after that should be some other stuff. But yeah, no, I'm basically want to get some videos out of the way before my work jumps up again. I do have Smash this weekend, so I'll also probably be recording a video of me talking about everything I got. But yeah, no, that's basically everything I want to say. We can talk about the rebranding at some other point. Okay, all right, bye.